Good evening. How's everybody? So tonight, I wanted to. I'm incredibly annoyed. But in a weird way. I was talking to Robin, and right now, this is going to be really motivating. This is one of those, you got to stick with me through the story, because I should be able to cast the vision of where things are and how amazing it's going to be, and then start the process. And I'm just not there. Don't let me off this. And so, this is one of those hang tight conversations, because it'll hopefully make sense at the end. But tonight's going to be about a conversation. Tonight's going to be about your questions, about where we are, about what's going on. Here's the thing. Everything we have right now kind of sucks. Everything's bad. Our presentation isn't very good. Our access support isn't dialed in. Our team environment isn't very good. Our results are bad. Our training skills are bad. Like, our technology is bad. Like, the reality is, I have worked my ass off for 7 years so that we could get everything to bad. And that is such an accomplishment. See, bad is on a measurable level. You actually have to have something for it to be bad. See, lots of people have ideas. They sit in their garage and they come up with ideas. They're going to build businesses. They're going to do all these other things. And they've got these ideas, and the ideas are fantastic. You ever talk to someone with great ideas? Hang out with me. I'm pretty good at it. And I can make ideas that sound great. Because ideas are amazing. Because when you tell stories and ideas, the details aren't all that important. The connecting steps, when you don't have an answer of how something's going to work, you're like, well, I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're going to figure that out. And you just get to go to the next step. And so if you're around people with ideas, it's great. But to take something from an idea and actually build it, you actually have to get to bad. We are bad. The motivating thought. It is. We've taken a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, a lot of money, a lot of brain power, a lot of sleepless nights to create an infrastructure and a system that is officially not very good. David and Oscar and Tony were practicing the presentation today. The theory decreases responsibility. And they came in and asked me a question that, I'll be honest with you, wanted to rip my eyeballs out. They were like, so the 10 to 300,000, like, I wanted to take a baseball bat and just hit the desk. I didn't want to hurt them, that would be bad. Because that's how bad we are. Because one of the most simple concepts I've been teaching for 20 years, 3 of the guys that are here the most didn't understand. And I'm not being critical right now, but I'm being aware. That's bad. You guys all, can we just acknowledge that that's not good? That's bad? But the three of them were sitting in a conference room practicing the presentation and figured out that there was a key point that they didn't know. See, if we don't get bad, we can't get good. I'm working on Humani, and it's good. And it's bad. I've spent way too much time, money, and energy on this thing, and it's bad. It might be the best thing out there, and it's bad. It's going to take me another year to take it from holy shit, because it all makes sense in my head, but I'm going to roll it out to some of y'all here in the next couple months, and you're going to look at me like, what the hell do I do? Because it's bad. But it has to be bad in order for it to get on the iteration process of getting better, so that it can be really good. Access support is all over the place. It's bad. I've been talking about the power of a back office administrative company that's a leverageable skill. So when someone goes RVP, their infrastructure is in place that does associate development and client support all the way through. The ideas have been crystal clear for almost a decade. And they can barely spell access support. Nice. I was just like, talk about time in there. Right? Access support is really bad. It's annoyingly bad. Which is magical. You might want to watch the first 5 minutes of this video. See, access support will be a critical component to growing at scale. For us to be able to attract entrepreneurs and let them grow, develop and work with organizations, run the wellness systems, be able to onboard the on-demand economy, people, to be able to get them licensed and trained, to be able to farm out the appointments, to be able to work with the corporate side from the 529s and the Coverdales, right, and the 401ks. Access support is going to be critical. I've known this for a decade. They're bad. They're bad. Which is amazing. Because on Monday, Robin and Oscar and Melissa were in the office mapping out how a call center is built, and they understand for the first time the gap from where they are and where they need to be. We had a common language for them to be like, oh, we need this. And we're like, yes. They're like, oh shit, we don't have any of that. We're like, I know. Because we've worked really hard to be bad. We worked for a month on the getting started. Most of you, pretty bad at it. If I said, hey, here's a brand new person, run the presentation through it, most of you would be pretty bad. You'd go, here's what it would look like for most people. So the first one, you're going to get your licenses, and then you're going to have 200,000, and then you're going to get some skills, and you're going to build a team. That's about what most people would be able to do on the getting started. Can we all agree this would be bad after a month? Can we all agree that? Yeah. But most of you can do this. See, until you can be bad, we can't actually figure out what are the steps necessary to not be bad. See, translating from an idea to a tangible concept, translating it from this should work out in the ether to here's what you say, here's what you do, here's the conversation, here's the appointment. That translation has to go from magical because no one's paying attention to wow, everything we thought we had kind of sucks. Here's the reality. As an organization, professionally, we're pretty bad. So he's like, I'm really glad I'm a part of this team. Go team. Oh, let's make sure that this is perfectly right. We're the #1 securities licensing organization in America in California. We're the largest 401k in the history. We're building a business-to-business platform for a $4 billion company. We've got the best recruit code ratio in the company. And we're terrible. And I'll be honest with you, the system's that good. We are. Big. The infrastructure, the time, the organization, the willingness to develop the relationships, the process, like we worked really hard to create that. But that's okay. Here's the question that we have to ask. And then I want to get to, right, what is your business? And what are we doing? What are the questions? Where are the holes? Because this is how we close the gap. Here. So there's a book called The 5 Languages of Love, which is a phenomenal book, right? If you have a relationship, I think it's critical that you read it. I really, really do. And I think it's important that you read it with your partner and then talk to them. And one of the most amazing things is you'll figure out where your biggest weakness is, because they'll talk to you about something that's important to them and you'll think that they're complete and total morons. And you're like, you're joking, right? And it's critical in a relationship, right? I believe that critical. One of the hardest questions I've ever been asked in my entire life was from that book. And the question was, do you love your spouse, partner, significant other enough to tell them you love them in their language? Now, I added the second half to the sentence, if you think that their language is stupid. Yeah, that's the hardest question I've ever been asked personally. Do you love your partner enough to tell them you love them in a language that you don't value and express in a way that doesn't make sense to you? All of us have to answer that question or ignore it. If we ignore it, the impact will show up. Okay. Professionally, here's the hardest question I'm being asked right now. It will take about this, I predict, based on past experience, business professional successes, about the same amount of energy, not time, but energy, to go from an idea to bad. As going from bad to pretty good. See, tonight is a line in the sand night. We're officially bad, City. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Mark, we're bad. You're bad at taking and studying for this test. You're bad at it. Here's the thing. We can't be the same tomorrow. Because what we had to do from an idea to bad, the mindset, the behavior, the priorities won't get us from bad to pretty good. It's a completely different direction. If we're walking this way to go from an idea to bad, we actually have to stop and get on a different road to get to pretty good. The Mark, you did it. You said, I'm going to go to class. That's you went, you know what? This studying on my own is not going to work. I'm going to get on it down there. I'm going to go sit and I'm going to go sit in these classes. Right? You said, I have to take a different path. What's not what I didn't create to where I was to get me to bad isn't going to get me to pretty good. I have to take a different course now. I can't be the same person. I can't be the same leader I was yesterday because everything we have now is officially bad. Access support, Humani, our presentations, our organizations, our structures, our test taking, it's all bad. Now, luckily, it's not terrible, just bad. This is an accomplishment. Now, I understand I'm using words that some of you might not like. Some of you might not like me saying we're bad. You might go, we've worked really hard. Trust me, I've worked harder. I put in time. Trust me, I put in more time. I spent money. Trust me, I spent more money. I've made sacrifices. Trust me, I've made more sacrifices for us to go from an idea to bad. I'm not saying that to bump my chest. I'm saying that to go, at least I understand where you're coming from. But if I'm sitting up here going, shit, we started from, I don't know what we're going, it took us 2 years to be able to say, here's what we don't want. Person, 2 years. Cindy sat here for 2 years as I came to a meeting every Wednesday and every Saturday saying, I have no idea what we're going to do, but I came up with another thing I know we don't want to do. For 2 years, y'all are insane. But we went from an idea, and we are officially back. Welcome. Congratulations. Here's the question. Do you have it in you? Do I have it in me? So do you have it in you? Because it's not just, do I have the energy? It's the, do I recognize that what I knew to be true on this path isn't actually potentially true on this path? And if I carry the lessons I learned from here to here, I might actually be sabotaging and shutting myself down because I'm trying to take an idea from an idea to bad. And that doesn't matter. We already now know that the idea is sound and we're building the plane. Does this make any sense? This makes complete sense in my head, but I fully say, y'all might not get this. Arson, you're pretty bad at this business. How you think about it, how you talk about it, where you process it, how you move people, you're bad. You and Cindy are not very good at this business right now. That's freaking up. You know how hard you guys have worked to get bad? To where you're like, wow, we actually don't know what we're doing. Which is vastly different than thinking you know what you're doing and doing it wrong. How many of us have done that? To be able to be like, oh, I have no idea what I'm supposed to say right now. That's here. Now you have 2 choices. Be depressed, be scared, be frustrated. But if you're scared or frustrated or depressed, does it change anything? No. I have people every once in a while, well, I've never been on an appointment with you. That's all right, neither have I. But this is all, we're figuring this shit out all the time. I had someone come up to me and they're like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, I have no idea. Well, you didn't tell me. I didn't tell you what? We don't have anything. Stop it. Stop it. Because Primerica's created more 6-figure earners, more millionaires than any company in American history. Primerica's business model is recruit a bunch of people, understand that 12% of them are going to get licensed. 0.1% of them are going to get their securities license. We don't care because there's enough new people. Our market is always expanding. That we will blow through everybody until we find the ones crazy enough to see the opportunity, and then we will celebrate them so much that everyone else will feel bad, and that will motivate them to do something to bring enough people to where we get critical mass. And as long as we have a global company, a national company with a couple people exceeding at some period of time, we can put them on TV or put them in front of an event, put them on POL, and we can show 200 people out of 1 million people creating success, and everyone says, well, they look like me and they sound like me, so I can do it. That is our business. And we say, I don't want to do that. We believe that there's a fundamental problem in this country. The fundamental problem in this country is that Main Street families are devastated and no one's talking. And we have a fundamental opportunity to change and help solve that problem. In order to do it, we need to attract an army of people who stay with us forever. Because we never know the moments in their life where they're going to be ready to do something. And so we need to create a space for everyone. We need to figure out a way to attract and retain people. We need to be able to leverage this on-demand economy because there's a lot of people that have actually created success in their life where they make enough money to take care of their present, but they don't make enough money to take care of their present and their future. They can't save for retirement. They can't put their kids to college. Maybe they can't do all the trips that they want, but they can pay their bills. And most people in Primerica, for 15 years, my Primerica meeting was, most of you are broke. You don't have any money. You can't do the things. You can't take your kids to where you want to take them. You can't do all that other stuff. And let's be honest, there is a group of people who live completely paycheck to minus paycheck. Y'all with me? But y'all realize that there's a whole nother group that actually lives a better shade of broke, but they live a better shade of broke too. Like they're not wondering if their cell phone's getting turned off. There's an entire group of people that aren't wondering how they're going to put gas in their car. And for 15 years, I never talked to that group of people. We would only stand in front of the room and we would talk to the people that were like, hey, you've ever gone, sofa diving where you're looking for change? Because that's where our business model is. And we said, let's create a space where people are in that place in their life where they can grow, but let's attract everybody. Because if we attract people that actually have shit going on in their life that's pretty strong, and they're taking care of their present, but they can't take care of their future, we can leverage those skills and resources, and we can give them an opportunity to be able to retire, to put their kids to college, to make an impact, and we can allow them to leverage their credibility, which one allows us to move to a different group of people and allows us to onboard younger folks without that experience and hook them up to people that have experience in collapsed time frames. We can build a support system where people can grow. Well, guys, understand, that's an idea. There's 6,000 offices. That story I just told doesn't exist in any other office. It was an idea. Can we do it? Like, let's make sure this is perfectly clear. We made it up. There's no empirical data that says, yes, this can be done. There's nobody to call to say, hey, how did you do it? There's no ally at the home office that says, hey, we'll run a special contest for you. Person, this was an idea. That's all it was. This is an incredibly important concept for all of us to get. Because I think sometimes we forget how far we had to go from an idea to spearheading the business-to-business platform that specializes in wellness for corporations and organizations. That's landed the largest 401k in the history of America. That's literally building an on-demand environment. That's going to be the beta tester for the only corporate 529 in the industry. That's going to allow us to be able to attract and provide wellness organizations across the country. It's building a platform with the community colleges. It's building a platform with the local school districts. It's going to allow us to walk in and attract and sustain high-level growth. That's going to have a completely structured back office support company that is the point of contact for the corporations that then can farm out the information to the people that are available. An entire technology platform that's going to be able to cultivate and develop relationships both for your professional life, your Primerica business life, and your family, and it's going to be protected for you in private, and your ability to manage your entire communication and relationships to be able to grow so that it's in one place so that it never goes away. That was an idea. And it's now all in place. April 15th, we're rolling out the first of the 401ks. July 1st, we're rolling over the others. Wade's already run a wellness. Sue's already run a wellness. We've already run a wellness. We've run different programs. We already have the securities licensing process. Tony's like, man, I figured out that the questions are confusing me, so he's going to spend the next couple days building a plan that's going to be able to help people practice the how do you see the troll parts of the questions, right? So now we took a problem, we figured out a solution. We have an infrastructure that can identify a problem, identify a solution, and then grow it at scale. We're not in the idea business anymore. Here's the problem. We now know exactly what we want to do. And it's happening. Woohoo! I know. Here's the problem. We suck. This is important. Because we could spend the next couple months or years patting ourselves on the back on how good and how far we came from an idea to, man, we pulled this shit off, without actually forcing you to become a professional. We're going to get serious results so we can be like, shit. We must be good because of the results. But if we have 1,000 people to see, should we do business with 30 or 40 of them a month? Like, let's do the math here. By the end of the year, I believe with the 3 of the other companies, one that I'm working on, 2 that Robin are working on, I believe we're going to have somewhere between 3,000 to 6,000 employees relationships between now and the end of the year. If we have a business that closes 40 life sales a month, we're in the top 50 in the country. If we go from helping 2 or 3 families a month to 40 to 50 families a month just by servicing the clients we have, to the outside world, is it going to look like we're good? Do any of you really have to get that good? Tony, if I give you 8 people to talk to and here's the script and you half-ass it and you just kind of go through and you write 3 or 4 sales, you're going to think you're that good. We have enough, Arson, we have enough created and the ideas good enough to hide the fact that we're bad. Here's the problem. You know the problem? 7 years ago, I walked into a room. And I said 2 things. 1, I will never walk in front of a room and stand in front of a group of people and say, if you do these things, then you can be successful. If I do not believe that anyone in the room can do them and be successful. And I have. I didn't go to a meeting for 4 years. The other thing I said is that if I have to convince everyone to do everything all the time, I'm done. Because I cannot live my life that way. Those were the 2 commitments, and you were in the room. You might not remember them, I remember. Do you remember them? I remember. 1, I will not stand in front of a room and say, if you do these things, you can be successful. If I do not believe that anyone in that room can do that. Or there's nothing we do you can't be successful at. Nothing. I can't say that in my first one. Most people couldn't talk to 12 to 15 people every day, stay emotionally consistent, make them follow-up calls, and to be able to move and grow and to make sure you met someone in the hurt. And when your wife was falling apart, it didn't matter. You were there emotionally for them, and then those moments, and then when you challenged them to grow. Most people couldn't do that. I can tell you what to do. Most people couldn't do it. I said, if that's what I have to do, I will not stand in front of the room again. We had an idea on how I could stand in front of a room. I have no problem standing in front of this room saying, here, we run these places. Will you do it? That's a completely different story. Can you do it? Do you have the emotional and cognitive skill set available to do it? If you don't want to win, there's no magic fairy dust. The second is, if I have to convince everybody all the time, that's exhausting. I'm too smart and I work too hard, and I can go do something and just make $1 million on my own. Robin and I can go do it, and financially we can just be okay, and I don't have to be emotionally prepared to drag everyone up. Those were my 2 commitments.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If I may,
Yeah.
if I'm not,
Yeah, fine.
in regards to what was not understood, I'm curious to know.
What's not understood?
Something that
No.
just dawned on me or something.
So in my own business, I have this talk that said, if you do these 5 things, you can be successful.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a...
No, what I'm talking about is, I don't know if it was just an example, but there were some people, I don't know who it was, that they noticed they didn't understand a certain concept.
Uh-huh.
What was that concept?
Oh, well, it was part of our closing sequence on how we explain our products and stuff like that. So I'll go through that with you. So I'll show you that. But it could have been anything. It just happened to be this, right? It happened to be like the single most important thing we teach and have taught forever. Like when someone ever called me and said, I didn't do business, and I said, well, what did they say when? And they said, what, I didn't say that. Like I've been telling that story. Like there's one sentence, the phrase, there's one thing that you got to know, and you'll know it. So it just made me giggle that one thing, like, we weren't clear on. And so it just triggered. Now, I've been working on this for the last little bit, but it was like the last little piece to exemplify how bad it was. But it was awesome. This is taking me 6 minutes longer than I wanted. So I'm almost done. We spent 7 years fixing the first issue. I now can stand in front of any room, whether it's you guys or in front of Glenn Williams, and I can map out how there's a place for everyone in the world for us. And I'm incredibly proud of that. Here's the dilemma. I got really good emotionally at that. From the idea of the bad, David, that was issue number 1. I was in charge of issue number 1. From bad to pretty good, that's issue number 2. The dilemma though. Am I in charge of issue number 2? Who's in charge of issue number 2? And I am for me. Like I have to manage me. I have to lead me. I'm bad. And I have to make my changes as a coach, as a leader, as a closer, as a participant, as a facilitator, as an organizer. We don't have most of them. I have to gear up and get the energy it took me to get us from here to here. I have to get that energy to get us to go from here to here. We don't have the presentations done. That takes time and energy. That's hard to do. It's emotionally exhausting. Do I have it? Because we can't get pretty good with that. We got to build the YouTubes. I don't got them, but I have the energy. I got to do a whole nother overrun of Humani to be able to get it ready in prime time so that it doesn't like wreck your guys' life. So I got it. We got to get our Oz night attendance back up and run our Wednesday meetings. So I have to ask myself, do I have it in me to go from bad to pretty good? Now, there's usually someone in the room's like, why only pretty good? Because here's the dilemma. Just so that we're really good, that's a whole nother path there. Don't kid yourself. We could be having this conversation in November with a whole bunch of really good people, and I'm like, I got a question for you. Do you got the energy to go from pretty good to really good? And then at some point, we're going to run a meeting. Might be an RVP meeting, might be a leadership meeting, might be something. Where we're like, man, compared to the outside world, we're masters. Compared to what we are, we're just pretty good. Maybe we're really good. Do you have it in you to go to master? And I only say that because I don't want someone to go, well, Brett, I thought that this was it, the end. No, we got a lot. The good news is, we can actually make a shit ton of money from bad to really good. Like, bad to pretty good, we get to make a bunch of money. From pretty good to really good, we get to get almost rich. And from really good to mastery, game's over. Cindy, do you have it in you? David, do you have it in you? Claudia, do you have it in you? It's okay if you don't. There's a place for everyone. There's a role for all of us. There will be some people that hear this meeting and they're like, serious, I don't know if I have it in me to help take the team from here to here. I'm going to hang around for the next year. I'm not going to disappear, but I'm going to hang around. I'm not going to do a whole lot of heavy lifting, but I'll be around. And when the team's pretty good, I'll take advantage of all the tools. Great. I'm good with that. It's about aligned expectations. This is not about motivation. This is not about manipulation. This is not about obligation. This is about alignment. This is about me talking to me. Do I have it in me to recognize that we move from the idea to the infrastructure? And our infrastructure is pretty bad. And can I get giddy? Can I get excited? Can I get enthusiastic? Can I get encouraging? Can I gear up? Can I reset and go attack? Because I attack this shit really hard. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been attacking this very hard. A little tired. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize we had moved to the next phase. I was still walking on this path over here, thinking that we were just going to end up getting better. That's not how it works. You can't be who you were and pass the Series 60. You know how I know that? You took it twice. You didn't pass. You can't do more than the same. You can't be who you were and hit your numbers. You know how I know that? You never hit your numbers. You can't be who you were and inspire people to follow you. You know how I know that? Black ball. You can't be who you are and grow a team. You know why? Because we don't have a team. Do we have it? So, that's my motivational speech for the day. Are there questions? Are there things about our business, about your business, about your skill, about where you are, that as you hear this, as you think about it, or as you've talked to someone during the week, or you've thought about this, is there a hurdle, a stumbling block? Is there something you just can't get past and you think it's stopping you from moving forward? Is there anyone that has anything? Because if you have it, someone else probably does. Okay.
So I had a conversation with a friend of mine that I've spoken to before, and she asked me questions about what she should do for her future. She wants to retire, and she thought of me because of what I do here, and she wanted to reconnect with me and find out if it's the right idea for her to retire pretty soon. And all I could tell her was that that's something that I can help her look into, but I don't know where to go next with that. I mean, I've done an F&A with her, but she just kind of left it there. Maybe it wasn't the right time for her, but as things progress in her life, she needs some direction, but I'm not sure how to guide her. I'm not sure how to give direction.
Okay, how old is she?
59.
Should she retire?
No.
You know the direction. See, this is an important piece. You actually know the answer, don't you? But this isn't your question. You know the answer, don't you?
Well, I don't think she should retire.
So you know the answer. The question that you have to ask is, are you willing to tell her? And then are you willing to say, here's why, and here's what we can do over the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years to be able to make sure you can.
I think that's what she's trying to say. Because I think that it's not. I don't think that she doesn't know the answer. I think what scares her is what she gives her the answer. That next step of guiding her to what to do is the part where she's like.
So those are two different conversations, and they're both valid. Part one is you are the only expert in their life. And some of you are like, I don't feel like it. You actually are the expert. You know the answer to that question, don't you? You don't like the answer, but you know it. Does this make sense? She's like, should I retire? What's the answer?
No.
You know that. As an expert in financial services and planning, you know she doesn't have enough money to retire.
Right.
Do you like that answer?
No, but honestly, I don't feel qualified to tell her that.
Okay, but those are two different things. You don't feel qualified to tell her that. Is it true? Should she retire?
No.
You've been around, you're licensed, you're in the process of getting the next licenses, that are investments, you've got the planning tools and the resources, and you've seen this. As a financial services professional, should she retire? Here's a really interesting component. You actually know the answer, but you don't feel, what was the word you said? You don't feel qualified not to answer it. Do you feel qualified to answer it? Yeah, because you just answered it. This is an important space. Does Cindy feel qualified to answer the question whether or not this lady should retire? I just asked her, should she retire? No, Oscar, this is important. You guys got to listen to the words I'm asking. I didn't tell her she shouldn't retire. Who said in this room that this lady shouldn't retire? Cindy does. Does Cindy feel qualified to answer that question to me? Oscar, she feels qualified to answer the question to me. What she doesn't feel good about, qualified, is what? Telling her. Those are two different things. But if we convince ourselves that they're one, we undermine our confidence in our skill. You don't want to tell her she can't retire. What do you mean you don't feel qualified? She's turned to you as the person in financial services that answers these questions. She sees you as an authority. This is important. I don't believe that you don't feel qualified. I believe you don't want to because it hurts your friends' feelings. And we don't want to have someone we care about unhappy, and specifically unhappy with who? Us. Does this make sense? Should she retire? Do you have any doubt in your mind that right now she should retire? Are you qualified with your skill, licensing, training, and experience to know, to be able to make that assessment based on your experience? So you're qualified to make that decision.
Yes.
You actually, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm asking, like, do you feel like, based on your understanding, based on the money she has saved, the income she has, the resources she has, and her needs, will she be able to retire? You're an expert at her and this situation. And you know that she can't retire. So I'm going to ask this again, because this is important for everyone in the room. Is it that you don't feel qualified to answer that question? Or do you not feel comfortable explaining it to her?
I would say I don't feel comfortable just because I know that I have to show her some facts.
Great. So, but you could learn those facts.
Yes.
Okay, but see, guys, these are the hurdles. These are from idea to back. See, if it's an idea, I don't know if I can explain it to somebody. I don't know what the right thing is. I don't want to tell her that she can't retire because I don't know. No. Homegirl can't retire. She doesn't have any money. That we know. Do you know how to explain it? No idea. All right. Now let's get good at actually explaining that. Those are different paths. Does that make sense? But when you're convinced, when you convince yourself that you don't think you're qualified, then you don't actually pursue the skill on how to explain it. You're trying to figure out, how do I get myself to feel better? But your feelings isn't actually the issue. It's your skill. Does this make sense? It's a different path. If you walked in, if you all of a sudden, if she called you and said, or talked to you and said, I need to retire, if you blew up my phone and said, okay, Sears, so I did this F&A, she makes $4,000 a month, she's got $30,000 saved and is going to make $1,200 on Social Security, how do I explain to her that she has to work for 10 more years? You have the resources and all the information. You could ask me that question, huh? If you walked into my office and asked me that question, could we strategize on a game plan to be able to not only explain it, but to put a plan together for her on that? That would move you from being bad at being able to explain it to pretty good at building the structure of how our business actually works. See, then the answers I'm giving you matter to you because you're not in the, oh, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough, I can't explain it. Because we've all had conversations when we don't believe that we're able to process it, we don't even hear the answer. We don't actually increase our skill. But when we're like, oh, you mean I'm going to explain this? Yeah. All right, well, I guess I better learn it then. It shifts our dynamics. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So what we need to do is I can send you and we can talk about, tell me the facts, and you and I can build a plan for her so that you then can say, here's the reality. You can't retire today. But based on retirement, Social Security at 62 or 65, based on your savings, based on your experiences, here's what we need to do. We need to put a game plan together for you to save an extra $38,000 in the next 5 years or whatever that number is. You have a plan? No, I don't. Well, I got a question for you. If I got you licensed and you made an extra $5,000 a year part-time, you realize 5 years from now you can make up that $30,000. How bad do you want to be able to retire? Really bad. Well, then here, let's start the savings program and let's get you licensed. Because we are at the business platform and we can get you through this process, and you've now solved 2 problems. Does that make sense? That's how we go here. Because you are abundantly qualified. Because you've worked really hard to get her to see you as the expert. Do you have to know all things? I know very little. But I know really smart people. You could know it all and not be able to talk to anyone. Or know enough and have the people to talk to. You think you and I could develop a plan to have her comfortable and confident with the plan?
Yeah.
Would that feel good if you could actually help her make it a reality rather than just a hope and a prayer?
Yeah.
That's our business. Now, if you give her the plan and she doesn't like it because she wants to retire, did that mean you weren't qualified? It's her choice. Now, Oscar's point. If you don't know what to do, then you get curious on the, wait a second, what would you do? I know how Sue got good at this. I know how I got good at this. Called use cases. They're not these complicated. You're driving around and you're like, if someone was 32 years old and married to 2 kids making X dollars, what would I tell them? If someone had X amount of savings and X amount, what would I say? If someone, and you could come up with 50 different scenarios about different family dynamics. Write them down. And then you could actually plan them out. No. Yeah, that's from back. Pretty good. No, Brett, I'm going to wait till I have all those appointments. Oh, so you're going to practice on everyone for you to get good and hope that you figure it out, and so you're going to be living your life in the rearview mirror? Here's what I should have said when. How's that work out? That's this pathway. Any other questions? I think that was a good answer. Anyone else have anything for business? What is it? Do you have the energy? Do you want to help us move this thing?
My biggest hurdle right now is that I don't know what to say because I'm still in the mindset of the old partner, I should say that.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is like, okay, I need to erase that and learn the new language, what our business is.
Whatever you do, close your eyes for a second. Okay, whatever you do, don't picture a red car. I don't want you to see a red car when you're driving down the street. I don't want you to see a red car. Whatever you do, don't picture a red car. There's not a red car. There's not a big red car, a little red car. There's no red car all in your picture. Whatever you do not picture a red car. Open your eyes. What'd you see? So now what I want you to do, close your eyes again, is I want you to picture the ocean. I want you to feel the breeze. I want you to hear the seabirds, see the birds. There's the waves crashing. Kids are laughing. So the little boy flying a kite, right? There's a dog running around. Can you see it? Yeah. Then all of a sudden, here comes that red car. Red car show up. See, guys, here's the deal. Arson, you can't not think of something. It's physically impossible. Your brain will not allow it. You cannot sneeze with your eyes open. And you cannot not think of something. Willpower doesn't exist. You have to replace an idea with another. So if you want to learn new language, you can't not know old language. You have to replace it. You have to replace an idea with another. It's the only way. So If you're, I can't say this, I can't say this. What you do is, Sears, how do I get started? And we'll say, learn this, and let's do this. And you're like, yeah, but I want to do this. And you either find someone to trust and run the play understanding that we understand that where you're trying to get to, but how we want to get to mastery. Really, really rich? Mastery sounds good, huh? So why don't we just do this? Shit, I don't want to do that whole path forward. Let's just go that way. Woo, man, Sears, my job here is done. Right? That's how most of us want to go. Forget all this crap later. This is the shortcut. The hardest thing for our sin to believe is that this is the shortcut. The hardest thing for Oscar is when Oscar doesn't think something's important, it must not be important. The problem is when Oscar doesn't understand why something's important, he doesn't think it's important. And so when Oscar doesn't understand why something's important, he doesn't think it's important. If it's not important, he doesn't do it. Oscar, has anyone in your family gotten completely and totally financially independent?
Nope.
Anyone built successful businesses that run on their own? Everyone who traveled the world? No. So the frame of references of what you know to be true are false. Not good or bad, false. If the premise of, if I don't understand it, it must not be valid, and there are things that I've not been exposed to, it doesn't mean you're not smart, master's degree. It doesn't mean that you don't work hard. It doesn't mean you don't love your family. It means if you've never been on a path like this, you don't know this is the path. So having someone explain this as a path looks stupid. You mean you have to convert an idea to bad? That's ridiculous. Why do I have to be bad? I'm not bad. I'm pretty good at this. I got 3 conversations with people who said they're going to do this stuff. Man, I got this thing wired. I've been studying this shit for 25 years. I've been studying success and development and human growth and communication relationship for 25 years. And getting another human being to recognize growth is almost impossible. And I hold on to that almost for dear life. So you walk in and you're like, I want to make these changes. Okay, let's do this. Yeah? Yeah. Practice. Okay. You win. Financially independent. Because you don't have to figure any of this crap out. You start running. Now, here's our dilemma. 18 months from right now, this is a whole lot easier. Suki, you're here at probably the most challenging time. Well, and I only say that because the last 7 years are done. Cindy's like, no, some of that was there. Here's the dilemma. Accepting we're bad is an emotional hurt. Because there's nothing to compare it to. Because see, David's not dramatically better than Tony at the business. And Claudia, you're not dramatically worse than Tony at the business. And from a results standpoint, my business is about the same size as your business. See, 18 months from now, we pull this off, there's 78 people in the room talking about the various places that they're standing and the pathway that they're on. And we got a bunch of people standing new with the idea, and they're moving to bad. And we're like, oh, we have the moving to bad group over here. And we run here are the 8 things you need to know to transition from idea to bad. Oh, there's 38 people that are actually bad. Welcome, congratulations. We have t-shirts. Here's how you move from bad to pretty good. Let me tell you stories. Let me show you how I was convinced I was good until I found out I was a complete moron. But then I learned, and then I realized that I could change. And we tell people these wonderful stories that allow them to create a safe space to say, I'm bad and it's okay. The dilemma is that we don't have those examples right now. And so when I say we're bad, it's easy to go, shit, after all this time, we're bad. Did we waste it? Because there's not a group of people at every level going, this isn't loss, this isn't failure, this is advancement. The reason it's the most challenging time in our career is that I was incredibly convinced and convicted and articulate on the idea. And so it didn't have to be real. It was, look into my eyes, you'll see the land, don't worry about it, we're going to figure this shit out. And people were like, well, shit, I don't know, maybe. I have no idea if he's going to figure it out, but if he does, man, I want to be there. That's how we kept people here. And when we're here, we're walking around with trophies and trips and money. So keeping people here is not that hard. Oscar, you're bad at this business.
Yeah.
But you're now bad by choice. Because we get to start walking in the next direction now. Which means we get to transition from bad to pretty good by choice. Or we stay by default in bad because our ego won't allow us to be okay with it. There's 2 people in this room right now. Now when they get in the car, they'll get on their phone, they'll turn to somebody, or they'll talk to themselves and be like, I have no idea what that meaning was about. I don't know what the hell Sears was talking about. He does not know the work I've been doing. I'm going to end with this. I am not being critical. I am being encouraging. This is success. This is advancement. We had a 5% chance of ever getting to bad. At any time in the last 5 years, we could have run out of funds. At any time in the last 5 years, we could have had other opportunities. At any time in the last 5 years, I could have just gotten fed up. At any time in the last 5 years, you could have given up. At any time in the last 5 years, we could have just said, screw it, let's go back. At any time in the last 5 years, any number of things could have happened that would have prohibited us from getting to bad. This is not a challenge. This is success. Living here, not so much. Understanding we are. Look, this happens in a lot of our lives too. Some of us have worked our entire lives to get to a place where we're starting from scratch with just our experience. I was 23 years old making $200,000 a year. Number 1 in the country, 24 years old. Number 1 in the country. I'm 40, almost 45. I'm not where I thought I would be. But shit, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't change it. Some of my best friends in the business made $1 million more than 5 of them I wouldn't change our businesses. 20 million. Maybe 100, but not 20. Now what? This is exciting. So, issue number one, I would not stand in front of any room and say, if you do this, you're going to be successful. I do not believe it. I believe you have a place for everyone to roll for all of us. I believe that you get to define your results and that we have an opportunity to get you your life license, get your security license, find you $200,000 in assets, make sure your licenses never go away, and the opportunity to make an impact. That we can grow and leverage this on-demand economy, that we can leverage the community, that we can grow the nonprofits, we can grow the business owners, we can grow the business systems, and we can fundamentally do that, and you can accomplish what it is that you want to do. I fundamentally believe that we took care of checkbox number one. I am not too proud to brag. I am scared. Because I will not build a business that I have to convince people. I will not drag people. I did it emotionally. And we worked really hard to build a business that I shouldn't have. Because I don't want you to have to. If I have to drag you up the hill, then you are convinced you have to drag everyone else up the hill. Does that sound fun? Could you imagine every day for the next 10 or 15 years scared that everyone in your business is going to quit because it's too hard and you got to go on the phone with them 68 times a day to make sure that they did the things that they were supposed to do to make sure that you made money and they made money? Could you imagine that burden every day as they're fighting with their family or their kids or someone's sick and you're like, oh my God, I got to keep them focused? The emotional strain. Is that what you want to do for your people? Then don't make me do it for you. Ooh, that just hit too. Felt it right there. All of a sudden, you weren't prepared for it. That's great. Guys, the next 2 years, we are going to put this company in its hands. We are the model. We're here. And every one of you can be a part of this. And we're going to go from bad to pretty good. And when we can get to pretty good, we can get really good. And we get really good, Masters is the choice. I told you. 14 months from now, there's no reason you're not already be. It doesn't mean 14 months from now you'll be already. We have a convention 14 months from now in Atlanta, Georgia. 14 months from now, there's a position called Regional Vice President, which is the ownership position. I was talking to my friend Arson and Cindy. They legitimately, 14 months from now, have the skill set and opportunity to be regional vice presidents, making $6,000 to $10,000 a month for 14 months from now. I said, I will not tell someone they can do something that they cannot do. I can't tell somebody that they can do something that they might choose not to. You cannot be bad and make that happen. We have a unique opportunity. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Well, I don't want to live here. Well, I think it's time you ask yourself, do you have it in you to gather up your experiences, to make the changes, to get on the new track, and move from bad to pretty good? Rob and I around will help every phase of the weekend. But it's about asking the right questions and making the changes. It's about eliminating the red car and replacing it with something else. Because at the end of the day, we got to let them know it's all about. I'm sorry.